EUC podcast.
Welcome to the End User Computing Podcast. This is episode number 4, and we are live at BriForum Denver 2015. We've got a number of guests with us that popped in from BriForum. So with us we have Gabe KNUTH.
Hey everyone.
Steve GREENBERG.
Hey.
JARIAN GIBSON.
Howdy, folks.
And Shane KLEINERT.
How's everybody doing?
And on the phone with us we have LESSNER.
Hey, guys.
And Anton Van Pelt.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us today, guys. We're going to do a bit of a recap from BriForum. So main topics this year were kind of diverse. I don't know if I'd say more diverse than normal, but it was actually pretty cool to see a lot of different variety. So good job, Gabe and Brian, in selecting the topics.
Great BriForum this year.
Thanks.
Really, really good.
I did the math. Somebody asked me how long it takes to pick the sessions, and I did the math. It's like 50 to 60 man-hours between Brian and I. It's one whole week, and we probably each do, let's say 40, because it's not full-time. So let's say we each spend 20 hours on it by the time we're all done sorting through sessions.
So you don't just pick your friends or randomly choose sessions, huh?
No, do you know the process? I mean,
what is the process? I would love to hear about it.
All right. So the process that we use is through the call for papers process. All that information just goes into an Excel spreadsheet that we export out of the survey Gizmo site.
Yeah, I think you shared that on Twitter at some point. Somebody saw a screenshot of the spreadsheet. Look at all this mess that we have to go through.
Yeah, so I think we had 170 or so sessions submitted this year with 84 spots that we could pick between BriForum London and BriForum Denver. So the very first thing we do is we hide all the columns except for title and abstract, and also the 3 to 5 takeaways. And Steve, your session got in based on your 3 to 5 takeaways all by itself. We have never cheated. In 11 years of doing this, we've never cheated and started to look at the speakers first. We always just look at titles and abstracts first. And as I'm going through, I'm reading title, and I forget what your title was. It was something about hyperconverged and
There was a vendor FUD and storage virtualization.
Yeah, but your 3 to 5 takeaways was sorting through all the vendor bullshit. Can we swear in this podcast?
And I'm really glad you brought it up because I didn't want to say anything because I knew you broke process to tell me you read it.
So I did that, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to see who made this session. So then it was Steve. I'm like, oh, thank you. So we go through that and do that anonymously first, and then after that, we go through and compare. We show who the speakers are, and then we go through and we look and see which speakers are working for vendors.
Right.
And we're pretty good at reading the abstract too and figuring out whether there's too much marketing words in the abstract. But so then we pair that out to make sure that nobody's talking about their own products. And from there, Brian and I each go through independently and say yes, no, or maybe to a session.
Yeah.
And the ones that we both say yes, those are basically automatically in.
Mm-hmm.
And then yes, maybe no, and no-nos. Those get put into different groups. This year we had 90-some sessions that we both said yes to.
Wow.
So even the yes, maybe ones where one of us said yes and one of us said maybe, a lot of those didn't make the cut either because we had to go through and pare down the ones that we both wanted.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty intense process, and Brian happened to be in Omaha this year, so we were able to knock it out a little bit quicker. But in the past, it's a lot of back and forth.
It's really cool.
It's fun though, because like you said, it's really diverse now. And if you think about it, we started off in 2005. BriForum was terminal server, Citrix Metaframe, and SoftGrid, and that was it. And so now look at it. I mean, now we've got GPU virtualization, we've got storage, we've got enterprise mobility, VMI, app refactoring, VDI, terminal server, all this stuff.
Networking. I saw several security sessions as well, which is great. It's good to see the diversity coming in.
Oh, the other session that was basically an automatic in based on the title was Sean's. Go ahead, say Docker one more time.
And I just went to that session, and it was amazing.
Was it?
Sean is incredible.
So I want to catch that one as well, but we were presenting at the same time, so it was I'll get the recording of that one.
Yeah, it's always tough when you're presenting at the same time as sessions that you want to go attend. So.
Well, I thought about this from
Great
saying,
days
like, hey,
recording.
Shane, I did London, you can do Denver, and also with Sean.
That's one of the great things about BriForum is you'll speak, and then like I luckily had the first slot in one session, so I just went to the conference. But you know, you speak and you sit down in the next session, and everybody next to you are speakers. Yeah. This is one community. This is a true community where there's no difference between who's speaking and who's in the audience.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, me personally, this is Shane speaking. I mean, I joined. My first BriForum was 09, and since when I came in 09, I maybe knew 10 people. I was just getting on Twitter. Between now we're at 2015, and we started speaking in here. I think 2012. In the last 3 years, we've been speaking. It just greatly expanded just the social aspect of meeting all these new people and the networking.
Shane has friends now.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're getting at. Before,
and now you got vendors asking you to speak for them.
Yeah.
Because you did the control-up session.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, it's great technology. So
that's cool. So you like being the first session, first day?
I actually love it, and it goes back to my very first time I ever spoke, 2008. I had never been to BriForum, and I was.
And you got the first slot, right?
And I was over like, oh, it's intimidating. What level should I be at? So I just had so much preparation done, and I had the first slot on the first day. It was nerve-wracking, but then it was awesome.
Normally we do that for the new guys. That's our version of
that was my new guy. Yeah, I got hazed.
It was like me and Jarian, our first year, we were it was like drinking from a fire hose back and forth.
I remember saying that to you because I'm like, oh, you must be new because that's what happened to me.
Yeah, we were firing through.
But what was even worse than that is I had never been to Navy Pier, and I insisted on doing live demos, so I had a server, and the taxi dropped me like
a mile.
And I walked for like a mile with the server. So thanks a lot, Gabe.
Hey, no problem.
But to your point about the diversity, that's what struck me this time. And I really focused on kind of the non-terminal server VDI sessions. Joe Shank's IoT thing was off the hook.
Yes, I love that session.
He was doing NetScaler load balancing management by voice through Amazon Echo.
Yeah, using Alexa.
And a web server to my load balancing thing.
And it was a drone.
And it was great.
Right?
It was crazy.
Go ahead, Anton.
I saw some pictures on Twitter. He was using a drone as well, or?
The drone.
Yeah, the drone was taking pictures throughout the session and posting them. And then for like his NetScaler thing, it was Amazon Echo to OctaBlue to talking to NetScaler and basically getting the status, removing servers, in and out of a server script. So it was really good. I really enjoyed that session.
Yeah, that was great.
He completely blown my my timeline on Twitter.
Yeah, there was a lot of tweets.
Yeah, it's still kind of beta IoT, as you can tell from that stream.
Did you bring the cat?
Yeah.
Hey Steve, did you brought the cat as well or not?
I'm sorry.
The cat.
No, we didn't do that this time. This was a little bit simpler. But I
Okay.
thought the NetScaler was badass because now you're maintaining an infrastructure device by voice.
Yeah.
That's more useful than turning on the ground effect lighting on Chris Fleck's car.
Yes.
Right.
That's what I want to see, is being able to say, hey, Alexa, do this, and then power on your lab. Basically make it like you're Iron Man and it's Jarvis, right?
Yeah.
That's what I want to do with it. So.
That's what we all want to do.
That's what we all want to do. I think we all want to be Iron Man.
Pretty much. That's universal.
Power my lab on, to go to pull X on the
Alexa.
VPN, in my pool, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Be able to voice command that and take off the workflow and be done.
Absolutely.
Gabe, are the sessions by design to be diverse, or is it just you're picking, like you mentioned, the top 90 or however many sessions? It seems balanced.
Yeah, so we do make an effort to be balanced, and that's why some of the ones that we both say yes to don't get in, because probably 5 of the sessions that we both liked were at the sessions that were about advanced sequencing, and we can't have 5 advanced sequencing sessions. So, so we do have to pare them down, and we do aim for diversity to the point where we want to make sure that we represent some deeper storage sessions, but we also want to have some introductory, entry-level storage sessions, because there's a lot of people here that know they have a problem but don't know exactly why they have a problem or how they need to fix it. So it's a very curated list of sessions by the time we spit it out to the world.
Yeah.
Are you starting to see more business people kind of show up at BriForum, which is typically one of the most technical conferences, at least in this space?
Yeah.
We do see it from time to time, but usually what happens is the guy will come up to us later and he'll say, "I'm pretty sure the show is awesome, but it's not for me. I'm going to send 2 of my guys next year."
Yeah, exactly.
You're like a business track or beginner track for those type of people who maybe aren't the higher level.
That's called
attendees?
synergy.
That's called vendor.
Well, not like the product of selling. Here's how to sell our product, but more of the business side of technology instead of just like the nuts and bolts and getting
If you can see his face, that's pretty much a no.
Yeah, it's not something that we want to do, just because that's not why we started BriForum, because back in the day, in 2005 and the years before that, we were going to Synergy, which was called iForum at the time, and then we said, Brian, I don't think I was there the year that this hatched, but Brian was talking about doing a conference during one of the dinners at Shula's Steakhouse, and there was beer involved, and somebody said, oh, if you ever do it, dude, you have to call it BriForum, and so that's how BriForum became a thing. But we wanted to do it because at the time, those trade shows were the business side. They were how to sell this stuff to your customers, and if there was a technical element to a session, it was a product manager with a developer sitting down next to him, and if somebody asked a technical question, the developer would look up, bark out an answer, and then put his head back down. And so BriForum's kind of born out of our frustration of that. We wanted a technical show because we got more out of iForum back in the day by talking to guys like us, right? Like Ron Oglesby and people like that. And we did go into the sessions. And so we wanted to set a conference that was all guys like Ron Oglesby and Benny and that kind of thing.
Well, to add to that, too, if I could, in the iForum days before it was named Synergy, people like us were not allowed to speak specifically.
Exactly.
So I had customers, I had years of customers getting up, and some dumbass Citrix marketing guy would stand next to him. And I swear we were not allowed to speak. We had designed it and built it, and they were directed they could not mention us.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
And now you look at shows, so Synergy has the Geek Speak track now, VMworld has independent people speaking at their sessions, and so the world's changed a lot. They're not just marketing shows anymore. Make no mistake, these are paid for with a marketing budget, and they probably lose money on these shows just based on how much they bring in versus how much they spend, but these shows, they have more independent technical content. That's a big difference, though, is we don't have marketing money for this. Like, the show has to sustain itself.
Right.
But to do that, we need the speakers, and that's why we put so much effort into collecting sessions and making sure that we have a good overall agenda.
And vendors. Vendors help too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then, even with the vendors, though, we interact a lot with them. I was on the phone even the week before Denver this year, talking to some vendors about how to craft their message for their sessions that they were going to have. Shane, you missed a call. I think
I missed it.
but I was on a call with them. Star Mobile, I talked to them a few times, and I just keep stressing demo. No marketing slides. Like, this is a slide of our company history, and now let me show you what we do. And that's it.
They seem to do good, though, because I went to some of those, and they were good about it. They were like, I'm going to skip these slides. I'm just going to get to the demo.
Yeah, so we did the control-up session, and it was architecture, and then it was right into 5 real-world use cases and how to troubleshoot them.
Yeah.
And it was like super interactive, and everyone really enjoyed it.
And the one today from Micron, Rob Pegler, that guy is a super genius. That guy's like Mr. Storage, and he was just diving deep.
Were any of you guys in the frame?
I was
session. Brian said that was really cool.
I saw tweets about that one, so that's really good. Seeing that it wasn't just like a vendor type BS session, it was actually getting nuts and bolts. And
they actually went in and signed up from scratch, right? So they opened up a browser, created an account, provisioned their desktop 9,000 miles away in like Singapore or something, right? And then connected to it live in real time, and that makes for a hell of a
And I signed up and did it live at the same time.
Did you really?
That worked, yeah.
So how do you guys pick your locations? So from going from many years in Chicago, then going to Boston,
Interesting
how
one.
do you guys decide on where you guys are going to do it?
All right, so the very first 2 years we're in Washington, D.C. because Brian lived in Washington, D.C. The very first one was in the suburb Silver Spring, where Brian lived, at a movie theater, and then the next year it got big enough that we moved it to downtown Washington, D.C. at the National Press Club. That is where the infamous fire drill happened, and so we had to evacuate because a popcorn machine a few floors down caught on fire. So instead of just hanging out waiting for the building to reopen, people just went to the bar.
Nice.
So after that, the biggest complaint that we heard was that people didn't want to fly from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast. So we decided to move it to a more central hub city, and so that's how we got to Chicago.
Okay.
We used to do it in downtown Chicago. I think your guys' first one was at the Hilton down in the basement.
Yeah, the basement. No, that was our next one. Our first one was actually we did all the McCormick ones.
Okay. So we decided we didn't like the basement at the Hilton the year before, and so we went to McCormick Place, which was way far south, and we were there for 3 or 4 years probably, and decided that it was near nothing. There were no restaurants, no nothing. Everything was a $25 taxi ride away, and it was a pain in the neck.
Shane and I know because we went out for dinner one night and walked through neighborhoods we had no business.
I know, real quick. Steve does like kung fu. We just started walking behind Steve.
It's the south side.
Yes.
So at some point we just decided we'd been doing Chicago for so long, and we knew Chicago. We thought, all right, let's move to Boston. So that's where last year was.
Boston was cool.
Yeah,
Boston
I was really enjoying Boston.
And there's a lot of factors, but long story short, we couldn't get the same venue locked down, and so our choices were like suburban Boston, like Needham Hotel, or New City. And so,
or Moscone, San Francisco, right? Because you totally have the budget for that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know if you know, we have 8,000 people this year, up from 200 last year. So we thought, okay, so Denver's got a pretty active community here. I don't know if you spent time out, like you got Jared Coward from NVIDIA and Jason
Res
Guggenheim
guys,
from
Absence guys, Res
Absence guys, yep.
Nutanix, all of them.
Yeah,
Street performers.
Yeah. So we'd been here before for events, and we knew that the community was pretty active. So we said, all right, what the heck, let's give it a shot in Denver. I like this place.
Yeah, that was good. Like venue, like location, so it was good.
Took a few days for me to be able to sleep because I kept waking up in the night gasping for air.
Yeah, I was right there with you.
Is that what that was? I was wondering why I've had such a hard time sleeping here. It must be the air.
It is.
Mine's in the night sweats.
That's right. I can't get cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like the thermostat's at 62, and I still sweat. And Greg Shields, who's a local and one of the speakers, he told me that the people that come to visit can't sleep at night all that well for the first few nights because you're used to breathing in so much oxygen at whatever cadence you breathe at when you sleep, and you're breathing at that same cadence, but you're not getting the same amount of oxygen, so everybody's just a little loopy. So
where's next year?
Unknown.
I've
tried.
BriForum Australia.
Australia.
Says Aaron Parker at the other end of the table. Man, we've been trying for so many years to get to Australia. I'm sure that if we went there, it would be to standing ovations and all of that. But nobody has wanted to sponsor that show. And like I said, so BriForum has to be self-sustaining. It's not a marketing show, so we don't have a budget that we can just say, all right, we're just going to throw this money at it. We want to put an event on here. Like it has to. We have to have the sponsors. We have to pay for the speakers because it's not a trade show that the speakers are just going to go to necessarily. So we pay for the speakers to travel. So it has to be self-sustaining. We've never figured out that model for Australia.
Hey, Gabe, what about Hong Kong?
Whatever I just said about Australia applies.
Same rules apply.
So how about vendor wows? Did you guys talk to any vendors out there that surprised you?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Another one I want you guys to be thinking about is what was your #1 session if you had to pick one, which is going to be really difficult to pick. And you can't pick your own session. That would be a little
It'd be totally
inappropriate.
douchey.
Yeah, totally douchey. So
vendor-wise, FS Logic rocks. Keeps doing interesting new things at a rapid pace. Loved Frame, the new name of Mainframe 2.
Yep.
Those were two that stuck out for me. I liked.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. FS Logics was another good one. I checked out Frame like them. Most of the vendors here I already know, so I didn't really mingle as much this year with the vendors. It was good to see Uber Agent here.
Uber Agent's rock.
Yeah, surprising.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah. You guys have any different ones?
It's kind of the same thing for me. I mean, I know most of the vendors here. I didn't get a chance to look at the frame, or I wanted to look at the Redo Mobility. I didn't get a chance to look at that.
Redo Mobility. Yeah.
That's how you mess the name up.
Yeah.
Live like that. But no, so FS Logics, I've been working with them for a while, so I always like looking at them. And
it was interesting. Redo I was familiar with, reform factoring mobile apps, but Hop2 has a different approach to it.
That was my
really
one.
interesting. Yeah. You want to describe it?
So I just got the demo, and when I first heard of it, they didn't show a demo, so it sounded like the client add-ons that like VMware added to their mobile client that made it easier to interact with Windows apps. And I thought, man, this is really great 4 years ago. But then when I saw it, the stuff that they're doing, I mean, they're using RDP. I would still call it app refactoring. They don't call it that because they're more about just toolbars and shortcuts to like keyboard strokes and things like that. But I mean, they showed me they're remoting Office via RDP, and they've exposed elements of Word, like picking fonts or cut and paste, and they've done it in a mobile way, even though you're looking at Word. And so the performance that we saw, even here on the hotel network, was really good. The problem I have with them is it's tied to RDP right now, so they have to get in, with VMware and Citrix's partnerships to take it beyond that, or maybe they can partner with Dell, and since vWorkspace uses RDP. But honestly, Hop2 is hard to describe. You have to see a demo because I want to say it's quick shortcuts type stuff, but man, they've done a really good job of making it into a mobile interface while still showing you Word via RDP. They've done it for Office and a couple other.
Let me try a little quick description that might help the listeners. So with Redo, you take your Windows app, it executes on Windows, and you assign the UI to native mobile apps. So instead of a file menu, you have a button, and you kind of tell it what to map, and it's very effective. The app is still running on Windows. I thought that's what Hop2 was doing. I went over to the booth, and they're showing, as Gabe described, you still see the Windows app remoted, but they've added navigation and tabs and buttons around it, and it's very, very smart.
And they've hidden the other part. They've hidden the real native font selection tool in Word and shown you their version of the font selection tool, which is the same fonts and everything, so it's not confusing. That's what I thought it would be. I thought it would be confusing. Like, I don't need two ways to access this information.
Right.
They've hidden the one that's not intuitive to use, that requires pin zooming and swiping, and expose it in a more mobile-friendly way.
So it's kind of the best of both worlds. You're still looking at the Windows apps, but you can navigate it like it's a native app. Very smart.
Yeah. So that was my surprise, because I just hadn't heard of them before. Do you remember? So I learned today that they are Graphon. Do you remember Graphon?
I do.
That
global.
Same company.
Yep.
Graphon's still a thing. They still have a business selling Graphon licenses. Yeah.
Never heard of them. So what was Graphon's business?
A remote vendor.
It was before.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was.
Yeah,
it was
it
old.
was-
Yeah, it was for
the old people.
It was Metaframe 1.8 days.
Oh, okay.
It was 2000-ish.
Yeah.
And then back in the day, they had Unix and Windows remoting,
Okay.
so they had like a single platform.
How can you and I be the old guys in this?
I guess I'm the semi-old guy. So.
Session-wise, I can't pick a favorite. They're like my children.
Yeah.
But one that stood out, because we're talking about the diversity, was John Smith and Mike Nelson's networking session.
Okay.
And it was kind of like looking at what's on the wire, capturing packets and understanding them for like non-network guys. And their kind of byline was like, "Don't be afraid of Wireshark." And you know what? I am.
You have to use
And so I know, but so like they really made it make a lot more sense and a lot more straightforward. I thought that was great.
Yeah, John was super technical. It was cool as he went into like the IO graph on Wireshark, and he started building graphs based on TCP filters and stuff, and actually was able to show latency of the connections and show, of an entire stack of connections, which one had the most latency, all through an IO graph and stuff. That's something I particularly haven't worked with, so it was pretty neat to see that. I took that as a neat takeaway.
It made real sense. Like, I'm concerned about this IP address. I see high latency. Okay, look at the VIP for the entire V server and compare this to every other session. It's like real simple. Like, yeah, I could do that. That makes sense.
Yeah, he actually had a whole methodology he put together, which he blogged about on the Citrix user group as well, which he was basically looking at. It was interesting because he was saying, basically that the app owners need to know their app stack, every bit of the app stack, and he kind of went through the whole life cycle of the app stack and all the different multi-tiers of the app and stuff. And what's neat is most of those app owners don't know that information. That's why they don't. They're not taking the steps. That they look at it as their silo and they hand it off to the Citrix guy. And then that was kind of the whole premise of the session, was really getting to the point where you can kind of get to the root cause of the issue and not push that it's not specifically a Citrix issue, and the wire data actually was to help with that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Actually, okay.
I can't say that I talked to any one vendor that kind of blew my mind, but one thing that I really appreciated, I actually went to one of the vendors sessions, which I know they have to sponsor those or whatever. But I think between some work that we're doing with them locally and the stuff that they're doing at shows and all the use cases and stuff, I'm actually getting more and more impressed with Res software, the more exposure that I get with it.
Their automation machine or automation manager,
right?
I think it's really cool.
And they've had some executive leadership changes with Al Montserrat coming on board and renaming the product to Res 1, and Res Automation.
And calling it Res
Automation.
Finally.
Right, instead of RES.
Yeah.
So of vendor sessions, I think Res probably had the best interaction from a participant perspective. Like, they actually opened it up. They had a customer that was up there that talked about their deployment and how they used it, how they went from XP to 7 using their software.
Sounds good.
And the interaction from the customer audience was actually really great. And they had lots of stump the chump type of questions. They're like, give us your hardest problem that you have to deal with on a regular basis, and something that you haven't thought of how you can automate your way around this so you can get rid of those repetitive tasks. And people were coming up with some pretty off-the-wall type of scenarios.
Yeah.
Sounds like they understand the BriForum audience. That's good.
Yeah. No, it was really cool.
Yeah, they've been here for a long time.
Yeah.
Me for sessions, I thought my favorite was probably Joe Songs, because you could just see people's light bulbs
The
go on
IoT
with the IoT stuff.
Yep,
You could just see that the room just changed and start getting what's going on, and how he was showing, especially the NetScaler stuff. Well, was pretty cool for me. I enjoyed your session, Steve. You and Ruben went on the storage piece. I didn't catch it here, but I was able to catch it in London. Kevin Goodman's session on PowerShell.
Yeah, how was that?
That's a really good session.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that in London. He did a repeat here.
Okay.
But I'm glad these are recorded, because there's so many good sessions, you can't attend them all, and then you have conflicting if you're presenting. But it was good to see people like Ryan Reward and Adam Plata do their first BriForum sessions here as well. So,
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't actually get to attend any because it's BriForum and I'm running around. And all that.
I go back and catch it.
I consume BriForum as a podcast later. When Justin is encoding all the videos, I have him tear off an MP3 stream of each one. So it just kind of goes into a podcast, and I listen to it when driving or mowing the lawn and stuff like that. So I haven't heard a damn thing yet, but I'm sure it's all awesome. I do like the geek out where the only thing that I really have any control over, besides picking the sessions, runs on a Windows app in a Parallels virtual machine on my Mac, and the virtual machine decided to run updates about 2 minutes after we started the game show. And
Dude, you couldn't have planned that better. Like, how do you even make that up?
I have never made 400 people laugh so hard so quickly than just by standing up and saying, it's literally applying updates right now.
Hey, Rory Monahan's app virtualization session was awesome.
Yes, that was really good as well.
Because he didn't just do 1 or 2 tools. He had like 8. Like, he took you through like every tool out there, and he had the sequencing or the packaging stuff videoed so you could really see them all. You weren't sitting there waiting around for stuff to happen. So that was a great overview of app virtualization.
Jeroen just walked by. He arrived 6 minutes before his session started.
Yeah, he had some traveling fun.
It's just-in-time presentation.
Yep. You have BriForum just-in-time presentation.
But it's not. Here's the thing. Your session isn't done until about 6 minutes before the presentation starts anyway. Your presentation isn't done until about 6 minutes before the session starts anyway. So whether or not you're here or not, it doesn't really matter. So
Same thing.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You've been doing this since 2005.
17 times. So
Yeah.
you got some good.
One thing you guys did in your own session was Workspace 2020. One of the cool things that they did was they used this web service called Sly.do.
Yeah.
It was like a real-time survey where they basically survey the audience real-time with real-world type questions.
Oh, that's cool.
What are people doing for virtual desktops? Where are they looking to go from consumer IT, that kind of stuff? And it was really neat to actually see that real-world feedback live. It's a neat service. So that was cool.
Yeah.
It was the first time, so it was a little bit.
Was it the first time? That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, big props to Ruben on that one.
Yeah. No, you're welcome.
Of course, the video switching back and forth caused him some issues, but what can you do?
Hey, it's BriForum. We have to have some video issues, otherwise. You already discussed.
I knew there was one more. Yeah, we were Brian and I were trying to figure out all the different things that have happened, and I forgot about the black screen problem.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah. I can't explain it without hand gestures. So something about analog signals and noise.
Recordings and videos. Those are like the red line from day one edition. Always some havoc.
Yeah,
that's good.
A couple of funny moments. Harry Labana and Sean Bass's session on Project Enzo
that was hilarious.
So they donned Citrix shirts, which in itself was a blast. But then the alarms started going off in the building,
The
and
session
we're
was
like,
on fire.
yeah, it's like, whoa.
Well, they have the message too. We love ZNAP also, so not just Citrix. Beamer loves it also.
Yeah, that was pretty funny too.
And then they exchange shirts or not?
No. They didn't exchange shirts. They both had Citrix shirts on during their session talking about Project Enzo, which was pretty funny. And then the fire alarm was going off, so some of us made the joke that it was the IoT people messing with the fire alarm.
Somebody pulled the fire alarm.
Somebody's got a SEV1 going on right now, and the fire alarm's going off.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I don't say anybody that's listening that didn't come or doesn't come to BriForum. This is the greatest event because it's low key. It's a small community of lots of experts. I learned so much when I come here. It's incredible. I mean,
It's the conference, it's the lunch, it's going out after the fact and networking. You get every conference you meet someone new from some other part of the world or local area. It's really neat. And
I really appreciate that.
Oh no, it's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. And one of the things I was just thinking about when we were talking about different BriForum ideas was maybe the folks that don't make the session submission, you maybe have a BriForum Lite or a web-based thing. And then I had thought about that through. Like that kind of would remove the whole BriForum networking piece and the interperson communication.
Yeah, it was always a community thing.
That's really what I think that's important. So it probably wouldn't be a good idea to do that. So I killed my idea before I spit it out.
But then you spit it out anyway.
Yeah, so of course, got to throw it out there. Just in case you decide to do it, I said it.
I got you.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear anything from the customers or the people there around the cloud management? Or, there's lots of talk on the vendor side, but are people wanting it?
So Jarian and I did a session on Workspace Cloud.
An excellent one, by the way.
Oh, thank you, Steve. It was the same session we did in London, and what I observed, I don't know if you felt the same way, but it seemed like the interaction in our session, even just comparing here in Denver to London was right after Synergy, so like a lot of stuff was uncovered. but I actually polled the audience to see how many people in London went to Synergy the week before, and it was maybe 20 to 25%, most of which were Citrites. This week, I polled the audience how many people were at Synergy, and it was like over half the room. So over 50% of people already had heard the vendor spiel about Citrix Workspace Cloud. So then they had more ammunition to actually come with the real tough questions like, how is this stuff going to work? How is that stuff going to work? Is this actually going to work in my environment, or is this a bunch of hoopla to get us to buy more licenses, right?
That's awesome. So there's a backstory for your guys' session. I got an email after we had picked all the sessions, and I think even announced them. I got an email from somebody at Citrix who said, hey, do you guys need a Citrix Workspace Cloud session? So we hadn't announced them yet. We'd chosen your session, but we hadn't announced them. And so I got an email from this guy, and he said, do you want me to come in and do one of those sessions? And I said, no, we already got one. And it's from independent people, so we're going to go with that one. And he was mad. He's like, how can you have that? Nobody knows anything about this. I'm like, relax, guy, I know people. But he couldn't believe that we had this information in another way, and that's why we do it, because you go to Synergy, you get the information from Citrix there, and then we come here and we get the real world.
Well, even right here, 4 or 5 of us were alpha beta testers.
Right?
So we've been using it for months.
No, understandably, we don't know how it's coded on the back end and stuff that only Citrites would know, but
which doesn't matter, because it's about how it works.
Especially this product, because it's about eliminating.
And the nice thing too is that we had a lot of good interaction in the room. We actually have some feedback that we already sent to the Workspace Cloud team about putting updates in the product for that to cover some of that stuff. So it was very interactive, a lot of questions, a lot of people, especially with the SQL database thing is huge for people. Not having to worry about that or maintain that is a big draw for people. And then just back on the cloud control plane stuff, the Enzo stuff, it was good to see Sean kind of give more details publicly about what Enzo is.
Did they demo Enzo? Or
they didn't demo it, but they did talk about their new security server replacement, which is going to be a hard Linux appliance. So you're kind of seeing where they're going with some of their stuff.
And they're also talking about replacing the traditional connection broker that's Windows-based to a Linux appliance, bringing in that kind of Desktone acquisition back down to the on-premises.
That's good. It's taking shape. It was more of an amorphous blob of a concept when they tweeted it out.
It one more details.
One takeaway I had though is that they're saying down the road in the future that they're going to have Project Enzo be 100% on-prem as well as an option, not just a cloud control plane. He did say that in that session.
It's also all net new as well. Greenfield deployments.
So that's interesting to hear as well. Where Citrix is taking the stance of we're going to have the control plane always in the cloud, make it evergreen, but your workers will be wherever you want to put them. So it's good to see that.
It is a different approach.
If you can't bridge that between on-prem and going to cloud, you have to have that option Enzo to have it 100% on-prem.
Yeah, makes sense.
And anyone have any just some predictions around what they'll do around file services? Like you have ship file and
around file services. Is that what you said? How file services will integrate with the cloud type of products, or something else?
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, just a bunch of feedback.
I don't recall them mentioning it. Do you guys have any recollection?
No, I don't think either between Workspace Cloud or Enzo that anybody's got to the whole meat of where's your data, right? I think that's just kind of assumed that both with Enzo and Workspace Cloud, you're going to continue to run your workloads next to your data, but nobody's really changing that dynamic at all. Nobody's really saying, we're going to offer a completely hosted AWS-based environment where your data sits next to your apps and all that kind of stuff. So,
is that the kind of topic we should be looking for? For content at BriForum, we kind of shied away from that. We had a couple of just
like the enterprise
general enterprise file sync type stuff, and I realize this isn't quite the same discussion, but we had a few of those sessions, and they were all from vendors, so we didn't accept them anyway. But
tell them to bring a booth.
It's one
show it there. Demos.
Start with the booth first, and then gauge interest.
But I just in general, as a topic for EFSS, we'd have that here probably. But it's funny because, like I said, we started with such a small subset of technology, and it's grown so big that it's really hard to pick. Like, okay, we're going to add this as a focus this year, and if we do, what are we going to de-emphasize for the next year? So it's tough. But we had Sean's cloud data security session, and Dave Stafford gave 1-2 that was dealing with data security. So I feel like those topics will sort of evolve to cover that kind of thing too. I think.
I think that's probably more appropriate. I think to handle it from a security perspective is probably better than handling it from a EFSS type of perspective. Because the enterprise organizations that would be attending this are more interested in the security elements around where their data lives than this feature or that feature, and I can do this, and I can stream an MP4 directly from my Dropbox, whereas I can't on ShareFile, or whatever that feature tip for tap might be. I think enterprise organizations are probably more interested in the security elements behind those solutions.
Yeah.
I think Ruben did a EFSS session 2 years ago at BriForum London.
Okay.
On the SmackDown, PQR SmackDown.
Enterprise file sync and share session at BriForum as a SmackDown session.
Yeah, I don't know how many people came into that.
There was one. It might not have been Ruben, or it might have been. Oh, it was Peter.
Ruben and Peter.
Yeah. So so we will have EFSS sessions, but just because we have that whole enterprise mobility element to the show too, we just didn't have any submitted this year for this show. We might have had one in London. Frankly, there were 84 sessions, so they all kind of run together.
It was pretty diverse because there was a whole topic I even missed existed, VMI. I was like, that's a thing.
Were you in there?
Yeah. No, but just the topic came up in discussion. I happened to miss that session, but I saw it tweeted, so I said, is this going to lead to a VMI delusion book in the future?
Well, I saw your tweet while I was there, because that was mostly Jack's session. We both arrived at the conclusion that we should do a VMI session at the same time, but independently. And so Jack was already giving one at Synergy, so he already had the deck. So basically that was his presentation, and I just got color commentary. I did create a demo. So virtual mobile infrastructure is basically VDIABA for Android. So we're remoting Android from a data center to a mobile device. And so my first thought when I heard about VMI was like, wow, okay, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Always make it a good idea.
So for the solution, you don't need a book then.
Yeah. Don't need a book. Don't worry. So you get thinking about it, and you hear some of the use cases. There's a lot of government, high security, that kind of a thing, where there are use cases out there where you might want to deploy an application, a mobile application from a data center. There's a lot of activity, a lot of vendors in this space. I think 5 or 6, which is more than you would think.
Which makes you think that there must be a market.
Somebody's asking for it, right?
I think it's the spooky market.
It is.
The 3-letter acronym government.
Oh yeah. And so we'll see what happens with it. There's just enough chatter that it was worth giving a rundown session, just being like, this is what VMI is. This is what it's all about. It's a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche. But there might be a use case somewhere. And then, so my only contribution to the thing, besides smart aleck comments along the way, was there's an app called BlueStacks that you can install on Windows that emulates Android. And when you install an Android application inside this VM, it creates a Windows shortcut. And so you can publish that as like a remote app. So you could roll your own VMI if you wanted to, just by having BlueStacks installed in your VDI VM.
What can you do with ArcWelder also in Google Chrome?
I don't know what that is, but maybe.
Oh, I know.
Probably.
So I use ArcWelder to do some of the same things as well on Google Chrome, and I've done it on Chromebooks, and I've done it just on my Mac and in Windows, where you can get the shortcut through the same thing.
Oh, is that like Android emulated for Chrome?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I would say so.
All right, my big question in this category is, can I get Flappy Bird back now as a result? Because they canceled Flappy Bird, you can't get it. The Android game.
It's an Android game?
Yeah.
I don't think you can. It says Android. So if it's not on Android,
no, I'm saying it's Android, you can't get it anymore. So maybe I can still run Flappy Bird.
If you can get the APK, my friend.
Yeah, at least possible.
Yeah.
Flappy Bird. I don't think
you guys don't know that whole phenomenon?
No,
the Vietnamese guy who created this game and it went viral, and he was making $50,000 a day, and it ruined his life, so he canceled it.
How did it ruin his life? Because $50,000 a day has ruined your life.
I'm just a reporter here. Because he was being inundated with interviews and requests for money, and he was just a simple guy, and he just canceled it. He took it off the App Store, and it's gone.
I think $50,000 a day you can buy security so that no one can mess with you.
And made people feel bad. Right.
I can see that aspect of it.
Yeah, he took it.
Frustrated.
Yeah.
Committed suicide because they.
Did he really?
Wow. Did he commit suicide?
No. He was afraid.
Users.
He was afraid he would. Yeah.
I'll say the first time I ever played Candy Crush was when I did this VMI demo with BlueStacks in London, and the second time was on stage yesterday. So Candy Crush is one of those games that everybody knows.
So you're absolutely addicted then, right?
Yeah. No, I still.
Twice in the same year? Oh my God.
I don't get it. It just makes me want to go play Dr. Mario.
Yeah. Cool.
So I think I need to step out because we're in the middle of packing up. So I'm going to take off. But this is awesome, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Gabe.
Thank you. Oh, man, thank you guys for coming.
BriForum.
This would not be the same without you guys. So yeah,
Thanks, Gabe. See you later.
All right. Cheers.
Thanks, Gabe.
So I know we planned the podcast hour both in the midst of the last session as well as unfortunately, Mike Nelson and Claudio are both flying back at the moment. But I think this has been good. I think we've had some good participation and good attendance. Why don't we go around the room and just any final thoughts or wrap-up thoughts? Or oh, you know what? One thing I kind of want to get your guys' opinion on, because it was an announcement from a pretty big vendor that happened this week while we were here. What are your guys' thoughts on VMware app cloaking? Any thoughts on that technology and where it's going to go from here? Anyone?
I think it's probably something needed because when you start getting into the number of app volumes and number of layers and that kind of stuff, you might hit some performance issues or limitations. So having to have multiple things in the same layer and be able to hide it, which FSLogix already does, kind of seeing their different take on it, okay. I think it's needed for the market.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Do you want to give a summary of what it is, Steve?
I don't know that I'm qualified. I saw a brief demo. I think Jarian has a better grasp on it because I have questions about, I only saw the superficial element, but I'd agree with the concept that you need to be able to filter and hide things from users in layered environments. And that's the basic concept of a user will not see something that's not assigned to them.
Right.
But I'm not sure at what level it's occurring.
Yeah, there was some confusion there too. I think you got the actual answer.
Yeah, I did. So I misspoke on Twitter.
Yeah.
I misspoke on Twitter, which never happens. Right. Nobody's ever wrong on the internet, right? And Harry called me out on it, and it was like, no, that's not how we're doing it. It's like, oh, okay, fine. So I went and I talked to him, and I got a little bit more of the spiel. And I think part of this comes from, both Dennis Gundarov is now on their team, and he's very mad scientist, security focused,
Von Villain.
And Von Villain, and Matt Conover. I don't know if you guys have ever had interactions with Matt, but he's also super bright, brilliant, semantic past, very security focused, super smart guy. And so, what I misspoke about when I said, oh yeah, this is just like FSLogix, you basically have all of your applications in an app stack, and then based on those applications, you're selecting which ones shouldn't be available or should be available to the users that you're entitling them to. And the thing that Harry kind of opened my eyes about, which, we'll see once the product actually comes out and whatnot, but basically what they're doing is instead of all of the apps being installed in the file system and registry and everything else, and then restricting visibility for the users that are less privileged, but having the application still available at the kernel level in the system, what they're doing is effectively during the runtime installation process where you're doing your sequencing, your app stack installation, it's figuring out what gets installed at that time. And so when you do this per user entitlement thing for app cloaking, it's only showing those pieces to the system as well as to the user. Okay. So there's no opportunity of vulnerability or something corrupting the kernel or the system or whatever that might potentially be there with an FSLogix type of approach. I don't know how much interest there would be in that, but it did seem like a little bit different spin compared to having the file system there, having the registry there for the system, for the kernel, and then disabling visibility for the user.
That's a great clarification, because that was exactly the question I had. So, because I was wondering, did it really deserve the title cloaking? And I think it does, based on what you're saying, because it makes it invisible to the system.
Right.
So that's important. That's
even though there are different methods between FSLogix and app volumes, it's kind of see that crisscross to where FSLogix started with cloaking. Now they're going to do like a mount VHD type thing, and then VMware kind of started with the mounting the actual stack, and then now they're going to a cloaking type functionality. So.
And all I can say about this whole element and everything that's going on is it's really cool to watch, like how the industry is evolving to not just be about persistent, non-persistent, or anything like that, but as organizations get more and more deployed, trying to move towards single image management, this stuff becomes necessary at that point. And I know you guys have talked about that a lot on the Frontline Chatter podcast as well, and Kevin's interview on that was great. So anybody that hasn't listened to that, the interview with Kevin Goodman from FSLogix was just phenomenal.
It's not only just talking about FSLogix, but just talking about some of the app layering and the app stacking, cloaking stuff in general. So it's really good, and we enjoyed it. I was talking to Kevin. It's just a geek out fest. So.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of community, one of the really interesting technologies was not at the event, but the guys from Spoon were in town and met a bunch of us at different coffee shops and dinners and stuff. And their technology is growing from kind of app virtualization into container VM level, really interesting ways. So it's a new category. That it's a gray zone between what you'd call an app virtualization, and a container.
So would that work for like not necessarily applications, but like roles, features, services, things along those lines that you would have on
one of the things
servers,
like SQL, IIS, those type of
yeah,
things.
so like almost a callback to what Microsoft had, was it Server App V or something like that?
Yeah, it's a similar concept. So Docker tends to be server-side apps,
Right.
and app virtualization tends to be client apps,
Right.
and they've kind of grown up in different streams.
Yeah.
And Spoon is kind of breaking some of those barriers. One of the demos that Rory did that Kenji provided was running different versions of SQL in containers and having
On the same
management
system.
on the same system
Wow.
and the management console, which otherwise would be incompatible in that scenario, talking to multiple databases. So it was kind of a server-side app, to your point, but in a client-side mode. And so that's blurring.
It's bridging the gap between containers and app virtualization.
That's something that, I mean, I remember when, I think it was like 2 years, or last year or 2 years ago, when we did the kind of the VMware, we looked at VCAC versus System Center and that kind of stuff. And we were looking at, when I was looking at VCAC and the blueprints and stuff, this was before the acquisition at the time. It was Cloud Volumes. They were showing full workloads, kind of being fully automated. So doing IIS, doing SQL, all coming in as part of a workload versus
Really? In Cloud Volumes? Wow.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, if they seem to focus it as app volume, just applications, so I'm sure that the functionality is there. I'm wondering when that's going to look at doing kind of that just-in-time stateless workloads, and not just for desktops, but actually servers too.
That's a great way to put it, just-in-time workloads, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see in the future have Spoon either doing like a session or a booth here to kind of get their stuff out there, because like Roy did have some really neat demos in his session, and he had like a nice long one.
Looking forward to looking at the video.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to playing with it as well. I met with the guys also, had dinner with the Spoon team and looking to see how that can fit in an EUC type role with their products, because you go to their website, they have like every version of the browser out there. So, being able to take IE 11 or 8 or whatever, and not having to build out silos anymore, and just being at runtime and being able to deliver what they need inside one of their Spoon containers on Windows. So.
And they're also coming up in this new generation of sort of GitHub mentality, that source is put up and shared. So their container packages, whatever their right name is, are up on the web, and you can download them. You can run Windows apps off the web through their mechanism. So they're really forward-thinking. They're more like, Linux thought process and DevOps and containers and the modern methods of doing stuff. It's very cool stuff.
So I can never quite remember the name because the term is kind of ambiguous. But is it generic capture? Is it universal capture? What was the other VMware feature that they talked about?
It was common capture.
Common capture.
Yeah,
that's what
that was really slick.
So I'll just briefly touch on that, and then we'll see, kind of how we feel about that. But the common capture feature that Harry and Sean had demoed actually during their session was being able to take what would normally be an app stack for app volumes or a departmental layer for Mirage, and being able to capture and sequence once to a VHD, and then have that be something that's delivered in app volumes to those that are on a VMware vSphere infrastructure, as well as being able to import it into Mirage to stream it down to the CVDs or the client virtualized devices, or whatever the CVDs are called, central virtual device, whatever that technology is.
Yep, that's some of like the big key differentiators between like App Volumes, MS Logic, and the other layering solutions out there, because they can actually be physical. They're not just tied to virtual.
Right, they can bridge those two worlds of the physical and virtual, or Flex, where you've got a Type 2 and you're running a VM inside of the contractor's laptop or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think the common capture is a good way to go, because they have the separate capture tool for thin app, separate capture tool for on the Lenovo or the Mirage side, and then same thing for app volumes, right? So the common capture is doing it one time, the before and after snapshot, creates like a JSON file for like the metadata, and then that could be, they showed it as part of the demo, being imported into Mirage, which I thought was pretty cool.
There was some thin app stuff too as well, didn't he?
Thin app, yeah,
as well. So hopefully that's going to help them kind of collapse some of the console sprawl they've gotten over the past couple of years.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Talking about in our session, they were just kind of dogging on Citrix with the sprawl, and now they're doing the same thing, but it's going to streamline. They're bringing a lot into the stack in a short amount of time.
You seem to imply it without committing that it would become a framework, a single framework.
Yeah, which I think would be really cool. I don't know, who was it? Earl Gay talked about Mirage in his session, because he did one on layering and a bunch of different things. And he talked about some of the scalability limitations if you want to do Mirage and persistent VDI. I personally have never seen it myself. I've not seen Mirage be used as the base plus application layer management solution for a persistent VDI scenario. But I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are, or if you have customers that have done Mirage for distributed workstations or distributed clients.
Well, I've had customers more recently get more interested in it because we don't know what's going on with Zen Client Type 1. So traditional customers that are Citrix have looked at Zen Client and maybe looked at Zen Client. Other education environments I worked at, they were doing PBS to physical, and the whole round of challenges that comes with that, they were starting to look at Zen Client to replace that. But now they're like, well, what do we do? Because right now there's nothing more announced on Zen Client, and that it's end of life here, 2016, I think. And there's there's nothing more past that, so we don't know what Zen Client is. So you're going to see more interest go from looking at Zen Client to go and look at Mirage as another solution.
Okay. What about yourself? Anyone?
No, not anyone specifically looking at Mirage technology. So I had people just like JARIAN said look at Zen Client in the past, but Zen Client didn't really have anything from like an application layering or handle anything from an app provisioning perspective. So people that were interested in Zen Client have moved off it due to some lack of support in that perspective and product direction. So unfortunately, they had moved off. But it looks like Citrix in general is moving more towards maybe like the Type 2 desktop player functionality.
That's the impression I'm getting. I don't know anything officially yet. Hopefully,
that's what it looks like. So. So I haven't seen a customer actually use the Mirage.
I think it wasn't long after the Mirage acquisition, the Winova acquisition, that the XP to 7 migration was really front and key stage, right?
Yep.
And VMware did an awesome job. VMware has awesome marketing, great marketing, absolutely phenomenal. And they did an awesome job capitalizing on utilizing Mirage for making that XP to 7 migration without having to go out and re-image all of your devices with Altiris or SCCM. So one of our fairly large state customers that will go unnamed, but let's just say they had 15,000 endpoints across 200-something locations, and they had a very robust, very inefficient Altiris infrastructure that they were looking at going from XP to 7, and the time that it would have taken them to get their Altiris infrastructure redeployed to support Windows 7 images, because the version that they were on was so outdated.
I was going to ask why.
Exactly. So they looked at the time that it would take to get the Altiris infrastructure in place so that they could go do all these imaging processes, and it was quite fascinating. VMware came in, did a pitch, did the whole thing. They ended up using the reflectors and stuff like that Mirage has within the product.
You kind of seed out the stuff to look
to seed out to across their 200 locations.
Yeah. Does it use the desktop to do that, or dedicated servers?
So no, it uses a neighboring desktop. So it's basically like
really
a peer-to-peer type of thing.
It's kind of like the BitTorrent type thing. So
or the E2.
Nomad.
Nomad for SCCM.
Right.
So it's a very cool approach to eliminate a lot of the infrastructure that you might have in a distributed fashion. And before they ended up doing this, they actually had, and get this, late 90s type of stuff, mobile imaging scenarios, where they had vans, where they had all kinds of racks with stations for PCs, that they would bring all the PCs out from the branches and go load them up in the vans and image them in the vans.
It's fancy sneakernet.
It was, fancy sneakernet is putting it lightly. So in addition to having all the new hardware that they had to purchase to support Windows 7, because they had like 4,000 desktops that wouldn't support it, they also had to figure out how they were going to image it. So, so they ended up buying Mirage. They ended up using it to get over that hump, and then they kept it. Because it eliminated their Altiris infrastructure, and now they're using Mirage plus SCCM to layer the applications on there in a very distributed fashion. So
one thing I was just thinking about when you were talking about that was the common capture, right? So I mean, when we're talking about the EUC space and VDI and server-based computing, that's just a small percentage. There's still tons and tons of physical PCs. Mm-hmm. So if you can leverage these management tools like the UEM tools. Things like Mirage, and you take the common capture tool where now you can take the app volume, that type of layering functionality for physical PCs. You just simplify the physical PC world, and it's much easier to bring it into a non-persistent world at that point.
I think you hit an important theme too. I think people in our virtual space are underestimating the traditional desktop.
Yeah, I mean, I used Landesk for years. It's an incredible product, and
people are still using it. Citrix, VMware, everybody could grow tremendously by having valuable products like your example to the physical desktop.
I think they should do some stuff for the physical side. So.
I agree.
Yeah.
Do you guys know on the UEM side for VMware, if you could, that was a question that came up in our session on the media acquisition. It can work for physical PCs. It'll work on physical PCs, but from a UL perspective.
Yeah, like with the profile management, if you're connecting Windows and apps and desktop, you can use profile management on physical. You do the same thing with UEM. Do you guys know that?
All the biggest deployments is using the physical desktop.
Our physical desktops, yeah.
And even though it's acquired as a Horizon virtual desktop license, it can still work with physical.
You're asking more about the entitlement.
The
technology works.
Technology
right.
works for sure.
I'd be really surprised if they did away with SKUs that allowed you to run NVIDIA.
Yeah, it seems silly, but
it seems logical that they would have adopted that and just grandfathered it in.
Yeah,
you can
being able to use that on your physical infrastructure.
Yeah. It's a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Very
Hey
cool.
guys.
Yeah.
Anybody been to the Parallels booth? Wondering why they were there?
Which booth was that, Anton?
Parallels. Yeah, so
Parallels acquisition.
Yeah, so Parallels is because they're showcasing the 2X stuff they acquired recently, and then also showing their SCCM integration management for Macs as well. So they weren't focusing on the other stuff, but more of that their presence in the EUC space now.
Okay. So more
And they have an
enterprise
incredible
focus.
stack. Really, they have multiple kinds of virtualization. They have excellent Mac support, Type
Well,
1, Type 2,
virtuoso,
container.
Yeah, well, they still have containers.
virtuoso.
They have a VCN
Yeah.
equivalent as well, because they do have a storage with their own hypervisor where they can do distributed storage also, which is recent. So
In a way, they actually are the most complete vendor in terms of the whole stack, but they're not like primary in the EUC space. So I'd watch it carefully, because if they want to, they could grab a lot of market and do some good things.
Cool.
Okay.
Very cool.
Hey, I know we're winding down. Can I do one pitch for the new user groups? Because I'm starting the one in Phoenix Metro.
Awesome.
So mycugc.org, the new official Citrix user group. We're live now on the site. We have our first meeting on August 4th, 7 p.m. You guys just did Kansas City, right?
yeah, I'm happy that Kansas City was the first of the relaunched user groups we did last week. We actually
Under the
had
new umbrella.
on the new umbrella, so we had 65 register, 40 show up. It was very good. We had Nutanix as our first founding sponsor of it, so looking forward to doing more. And
Great.
Hoping South Florida, Sacramento, all you
You
guys.
just committed me on the podcast.
Exactly.
That's it, man. Yeah,
We heard it here.
South Florida has started. We got the date defined, and now we just got to shore up the agenda and then get it posted. So.
Yeah, I saw
Great.
Dallas is going to have their roots here pretty soon too
There's
as
a
well.
bunch coming online.
Yeah.
In Europe, of course, our friends in Europe.
Yeah, if you're not involved, go to the mycuc.com or
.org. Yeah.
cudc.org website and sign up. Join a local group, get involved, use the forums, just get involved.
Awesome. Any parting thoughts, Steve?
Just again to say that BriForum is awesome. If you're listening to this and don't go, you should start going. If you like this podcast, you need to be here.
Yeah, 100% agree.
But yeah, I was the same.
That's exactly what I
Figure out a way.
Cool. And if you do come to BriForum, one of the perks is getting access to all the video content from past sessions. So it's totally valuable, an easy way to follow up and catch any of the sessions that
Well,
you
it's
didn't
not
get.
all past sessions. It's all sessions that year you attended.
So there's also
So like for
the year
instance,
before it's on YouTube as well. All the past
they
ones
end
on
up posting
YouTube.
stuff.
But you do get London for the
Yeah,
same.
so like when they do BriForum Europe and BriForum US, you get access to both.
Yeah, so if you're an end user trying to convince your boss to go to this session, I mean it's a great way to look on YouTube, grab those public sessions, look at the value of the content. And they actually have some good information on their website too on how to attend and help with that. But it's a great conference overall.
And we see people who aren't speakers come in for 6, 7, 8 years. I see the same guys here, and they keep coming back. And
like I know Ryan Reborn's been a long-time attendee, and first year him jumping up and actually.
And just like Gabe said, I mean anyone has an opportunity to speak. That's what's cool about it.
Yeah,
So.
you have a good idea, thought, submit papers for it, and maybe get accepted to come speak and join the fun.
Yeah, I thought it was particularly interesting with Nick and Dan's sessions. Those are always entertaining. They always have to poke fun at Sean, and now they were throwing Aaron into the mix, so that was hilarious.
Oh, that's right.
So that was a lot of fun. But I swear, Dan's going to start needing to get fined every time he says "we" in respect to Citrix, because he's not at Citrix anymore.
It's going to take a while before he breaks.
Yeah. So we're going to have to start hitting him with a fine every time he says "we" for Citrix. So. No, it's a great event. Thank you guys for joining the podcast live, and Anton, DWAYNE, thank you guys for joining online. We appreciate your interactions.
I need to be there next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll be right behind.
Yep, DWAYNE, you just need to get authorization from the CEO, and you'd be here.
And he'll be creeping.
Hey, and thanks, Dane, for keeping it together and getting this all organized. Great.
Yep.
All right. until next time, thank you guys for joining and enjoy the podcast.
Safe travels, guys.
Yo, thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
See ya.